Hey there, it's your boy Foxy, back for more relationship stories. I purposefully ruined my cousin and ex's wedding, and it's brought me a lot of happiness. Plus updates. Original post. I once looked up to my cousin. I thought he was a great guy, and we were close like brothers. I was also dating a girl. I was deeply in love with her, and planned to marry her someday. I thought my life was perfect. One day I came home early because a colleague offered to cover my shift. I was pretty tired, so I accepted and went home. Arriving home, I found them in my bed, getting it on. Both of them were shocked to say the least. I told them I wanted them to be gone by the time I got back, and left the house. They were gone by the time I did get back, but she left me a note telling me she was sorry, and to call her when I'd calmed down. I didn't call her. I texted her saying that I'd gather her things and drop them off at cousin's in a few days, and that she's staying with him now, not me. I followed through with that. It took about a week to transfer everything. Both of them tried to apologize, but I didn't have anything nice to say to them, so I said nothing. I just knocked the door and handed the bags to whoever answered before leaving. My cousin called me multiple times to try to apologize, but I refused to accept it. 3 years have passed since then. I went no contact with them. I didn't bring it up to the rest of my family or any of their friends. I'm not sure why, I just didn't. Then I got a call from a number I didn't recognize, so I answered. It was my cousin. He sounded really happy and was acting like he hadn't destroyed my life. He explained he and my ex were getting married, and he wanted me to be his best man. I was so angry that he had the utter gall to act like nothing was wrong, and lost my temper. I yelled at him and called him names before hanging up. He sent me a text telling me the offer still stood, and if I didn't want to be his best man, then he just simply would not have won. A few days passed by and I had an idea. I texted him back and apologized. I sent a paragraph of BS saying I was still angry, but this could be an opportunity for the three of us to heal and move past it. He was overjoyed and said he'd pay for everything, and he'd help me pick out a suit if I wanted, which I accepted because I sure as heck wasn't going to spend any money on his stupid wedding if I could help it. The wedding day came. I had spent the week prior writing a speech, putting all the negative feelings that had bottled up over the years into words. The wedding was pretty good. I'm sure one of them has some nice well-paying job or something, because they must have spent a decent bit of money on this wedding from how nice it was. Our entire family was there, as was a decent chunk of my ex's family. Eventually the time for my speech came. I just remember feeling really nervous as it built up to it, and my voice kept faltering when I was reading it out, but I didn't and still don't care. At least I got it out. I explained what these two horrible people had done to me. I called them the worst names I could think of, and wished them the worst. Then I left. I was expecting some kind of dramatic moment from all the guests, gasps of shock and all that, but there was none of that. Everyone was silent. On my way home, I got a call from my mother angrily telling me that I'd ruined the wedding, and both of them were so upset, and she asked me why I would do this. I told her that they deserved it for what they'd done to me, and everything I said in this speech was true. She kept defending them, so I swore at her and hung up. Since then, I've gotten several calls and texts from others in mine and my ex's family, angry that I ruined the wedding. I've also received a few texts from people who were there being supportive and telling me they were there if I needed to talk. I'm not sure if I feel better having done this, but it did bring me great catharsis when people were telling me the wedding was ruined. At least now they've felt at the very least a fraction of what they've made me feel. Just a little edit to address some common questions. As far as I'm aware, the rest of the family wasn't aware of her cheating on me. They likely knew we were dating at some point, then we weren't. I've learned from previous incidents that I can't rely on my family for any kind of support, so I've been on low contact with them since I moved out of my parents' house, which is why I didn't mention this to anyone in my family. A lot of people are also asking for the speech transcript. I wrote it in a Google Doc and read it out from my phone. The delivery was kinda lackluster. I sounded like I was going to cry and tripped over my words, but I managed to read it all out. It isn't verbatim what I said, but it's very close as I was reading from this as a general script. Hello everyone. I'm not very good at public speaking, so apologies in advance. It's an honor to be at this wedding, and an even greater honor to be the best man. I was shocked that I was even invited at all, since the last time I'd spoken to the bride and groom was when I'd found them doing it in my own bed. Ex was my partner at the time, you see, but I don't think she got the memo that when you're dating someone, you don't sleep with their cousin in your partner's own bed. And it wasn't like cousin didn't know we were dating either. Who knows how long this slimy douche was screwing her behind my back. Weeks, months. For those unaware, ex and I had been dating for 2 years. I loved her with all my heart and was actually saving up to get a proposal ring. Maybe if X wasn't such a loose woman, cousin would be giving this speech instead, and I wouldn't have been struggling with mental health for 3 years. Anyway, I've heard 50% of marriages end in divorce, and I hope yours is a messy one. From the bottom of my heart, screw you both. You ruined my life, and I will never forgive either of you. Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Lol, that's savage. Honestly, what did they expect you to do? Except the fact that he stabbed that knife in your back, and basically causes you so much anguish and hurt. I'm amazed they were stupid enough to invite you. Not just invite him, ask him to be best man. Like when I read the title and started reading, I thought the cousin was marrying some other girl, not OP's ex. I'm happy you ruined their wedding, lol. I got mad reading this. I'm almost impressed at the gall they have to do something so unbelievably awful, evil and callous. Like they didn't even give a crap. They wanted to rub his face in it, gloat about it, and show it off. Normally I wouldn't condone this type of petty revenge, but in this case, I am 100% for it. Screw them, and while you're at it, screw all the family members who are defending them. Go no contact with every single one of them, if not for the fact that they are defending your horrible cousin and your ex. Go no contact with them for the fact that they saw you were with your ex, saw that you suddenly weren't with her, and then couldn't be bothered to ask for details, and at least check up on you to see how you're doing. That literally takes only a few minutes, very simple text message or anything. If they had done that at least, then they would have known what she did to you. But they couldn't even bother to do that, because they didn't care enough. Screw them all. It's the fact that your cousin had the audacity to ask you to be the best man at his wedding with your ex that cheated on you with him. He's a complete idiot, if nothing else. You don't go from not speaking to each other for years after a conflict or betrayal to asking the person you hurt to be the best man at your wedding. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. They deserve what they got for hurting you, and then inviting you to their wedding to hurt you even more. The only way this gets worse is if they asked him to be the marriage officiant or something. Be prepared to turn them down when they ask you to be the godfather to their kid or some crap, lol. You sir deserve a drink. Hats off to you. I made sure to help myself to as many drinks as I could before we sat down for the speech. I think the alcohol gave me enough courage to do that in front of my entire family and hers. Now for the first update. Hey, it's been a while, and a lot has happened. I haven't logged into this account other than to look at any messages I've gotten whenever I see the notification in my email. It has helped, and it's good to know that people still think about me all this time later after reading words on a screen. Heck, the most recent private message I got was 4 hours ago as of typing this, and the most recent notification on my post was 10 minutes ago. I haven't responded to any because I don't really know how to begin doing so. I'd feel bad just giving a short thank you, and I'm not really creative enough to come up with over 20 good responses. I do greatly appreciate the supportive words though. Some stuff has happened since the whole mess that was my cousin's wedding. My mom tried to talk to me, said she saw the post I had made. I pushed her away for a few days before finally speaking to her. I'm struggling to find words to describe how things worked out between us. The easiest way to explain it is that we agreed to disagree on whether what I'd done was correct. I got a mix of messages from those who were present at the wedding, some supportive, while some telling me off. I was struggling a lot. I've just gone back to simply functioning like I was before the wedding, after I came down from getting my own back. I don't at all regret what I did, and I still feel satisfied that I got payback. I was making plans to take my own life about a month after the wedding. I hadn't told anyone for obvious reasons, but my mom, uncle, and cousin, same cousin whose wedding I ruined, came to me and told me they'd pay for a private counselor, since the mental health department of the NHS is under-equipped to say the least. I went to therapy, found a counselor who was very helpful, and he taught me a lot. I got diagnosed with PTSD, caused by the discovery of the affair. He's been a big help and has encouraged me to give casual dating a try, to build confidence in myself and get used to rejection as a normal part of life. I signed up to a few dating sites, although I'm avoiding Tinder like the plague. My counselor specifically suggested I stay as far away from Tinder as I possibly can. I've not been very successful in that avenue, but it's pretty much in line with what I was expecting. I've talked to a few people and even got a date scheduled, but she stood me up and ghosted me, which hurt. I'm doing good though, much better. I don't have self-harming thoughts very often anymore. Whenever I'm feeling especially crap, I like to open up this post and read your supportive messages. That's all for now. I'll probably start using this account on a more regular basis, so you may see more of me. I'm sorry for everything you're going through. I hope you know that you deserve to be loved, cared for, respected as a person, and that their actions are not a reflection of you as a person. P.S. And it's okay if you don't want to have a relationship with your cousin and your family members. Most stories on here that are related to OP ruining a wedding all have the same reaction from guests. Some support them and others don't, which is normal, but I feel as if your mother should have been way more supportive of her own child. I always hate reading stories like this. I'm sorry you had to go through such an ordeal. Makes me sick just thinking about if I ever went through something like that myself. You're incredibly strong for being able to keep it pushing for this long. Stay safe, man. So glad you're doing better. One day you will get to the point where when you think about this it will no longer hurt. I had to battle some demons after my ex and his countless infidelities. It takes time, but now when I think back on my ex, it's more of a sigh of relief that I didn't end up with him. God, that would have sucked. After a few first dates with a handful of guys, I stumbled upon someone when I wasn't even looking, and it all made sense. Yeah, it was miserable being heartbroken, but I finally found the reason none of the other guys worked out. I know you will find that one day when you least expect it and sending all the good karma your way. You will have to battle some demons, but it's good you have already started the adventure. I wish you the best of luck, and God, I love that you got to give that amazing speech to them to begin the actual healing process. Some of us don't get to have that kind of moment, and so glad you got that mic drop moment. If I was there, I'd be like, oh snap, that was epic. Kudos. Now for the last update. Hey friends, I'm still getting DMs asking for updates and the like, and honestly, I'm still baffled people care enough to ask. I do read your DMs. I've not responded to any because it's a little overwhelming. I've had over 70 people DM me now, all but 2 of whom were sending me messages of love and support. I really appreciate it, and I'm sorry for not responding. Like I said, it's just overwhelming. I might go through and respond someday. For now, I just open up my account and read the messages whenever I'm feeling down or generally just struggling to think positively. It really helps. Anyway, onto the update. Not a lot to update really. Not had much luck with the dating, so I gave up. I finally went on a date with 2 separate girls, but neither of them were my type, so I didn't arrange for a second date with either. The first constantly talked about her ex and how much of an a-hole he was. Obviously, I can relate pretty hard, but it just gave me the impression that she hadn't moved on from him. After we'd finished our date, I walked her home and she offered for me to come inside and watch a movie with her. I declined and lied, saying I needed to go home and feed my cat. I don't have a cat right now, and she seemed to buy it. I felt bad for turning her down, and I hope she finds someone who will treat her well. She seemed like a sweet girl, but she's just hung up on a toxic ex. The second girl was just painfully boring. She constantly talked about Love Island, I'm a celeb, and a few other shows I can't remember the name of. I faked an emergency just to get out of it, because 5 minutes with this woman felt like several decades. Other than that, no bites, and that's fine. My counselor said that if using those sites feels like a chore, then I should stop using them, and it felt like a chore, so I stopped. There's been quite a few common questions in my DMs, so I'll respond to them here. Question: how are you holding up? I'm doing great, all things considered. I have dark thoughts from time to time, but I've no intention to act on them. My counselor is a massive help. He's taught me a lot of coping mechanisms, and has helped boost my confidence from non-existent to probably a bit above average. Question: have you spoken with your ex at all since the wedding? Only when I've been to my cousin's house to visit with my mom, which is infrequent. I don't speak to either of them much. My mom just insists I visit him since he's paying for my therapy. I think she's trying to somehow repair our relationship, but once I'm well enough to not need therapy anymore, I'm going to go no contact with all of them and move to a different city. Question: continued from the previous question. If you do speak to your ex and or cousin, what do they say? Anything that isn't related to the wedding or doing each other in my bed. They do everything in their power to avoid talking about anything even tangentially related to those things. If you have additional questions, feel free to ask them in the comments. I'll try to answer them if I see them. I hope OP is able to successfully heal, but I don't think having his cousin and ex back in his life this soon is the healthiest option. My guess is that the cousin will cut paying the therapy if he doesn't visit them. With a deal like that, he'll be in therapy forever. OP's mom still is in the dark. For Pete's sake, OP doesn't need to talk to cousin. Cousin messed up the relationship by sleeping with OP's girlfriend. Like seriously, the cousin paying for therapy is the least he could do for having doing that with the ex in OP's bed. OP doesn't need to speak with cousin after dealing with that, and basically being guilted into being the best man so they could look good. I wonder if the therapist knows about this arrangement. I wonder if the cousin fed the therapist a BS story before paying her, so that the therapy results in a favorable outcome for himself. Question: have you spoken with your ex at all since the wedding? Only when I've been to my cousin's house to visit with my mom, which is infrequent. I don't speak to either of them much. My mom just insists I visit him since he's paying for my therapy. I think she's trying to somehow repair our relationship. But once I'm well enough to not need therapy anymore, I'm going to go no contact with all of them and move to a different city. See, that's exactly why OP should get therapy elsewhere, and anyone else but from cousin paying, since his own mother is already using that info to force a relationship when there shouldn't be a relationship, nor conversation since the ex cheated on OP with the cousin. That is some insidious manipulation his own mother doing, and OP wouldn't be wrong to cut her out much sooner rather than later. I agree, but therapy is hella expensive. When I was going regularly a few years back, it was $50 a session with insurance, and I had to go once a week. The medication and gas money to and from appointments was an additional expense. I didn't have a lot of options for therapists, as I had to get someone who could do late sessions. Being a teacher, I couldn't take off work for weekly sessions, so trying to find someone who can do 5 p.m. or later appointments was tough. I could barely afford all this, but it was that or follow through with offing myself. I hope I don't get to that place anytime soon because I wouldn't be able to afford that now. So for the OP, he may not have a choice financially, except to have his cousin pay for it until he works through everything. Hey there, it's your boy Foxy, back for more relationship stories. My husband, male 33, told me, female 28, that he's in love with my sister, female 32. I'm pregnant and I don't know why this is happening to me. Original post: my sister and I had a horrible life growing up, with a passive mother and mistreating stepfather. My sister was my protector and role model, since no one of the adults were. She tried to shift my stepdad's mistreatment on her when he got drunk so he wouldn't hurt me. When she left for college, she let me stay in her bed while she slept on the floor in her student room, the days I managed to run away from home. When I turned 16, she let me move in with her permanently. We never saw our parents again. My husband is very similar to my sister. They're both very calm and kind, both very intelligent. They have the same sense of humor, love the same music, books, movies, and games. It's like a weird perverted thing that I found the male version of my sister to fall in love with. They get along very well, and that was so important to me because they're my only family. We got married a year ago after 6 years together, and I'm 27 weeks pregnant now with our first baby. My sister met her boyfriend, male 30, a few years ago. He got along very well with me and my husband, although I always felt that my husband never really liked the guy. When I asked him once why he didn't like him, he got flustered and told me that he didn't know it was noticeable and apologized. He told me he just didn't think he was good enough for her. Her boyfriend proposed to my sister last night. We were just having pizzas and they were having beers at my sister's balcony, and the boyfriend just suddenly went down on his knees and took out a ring. She was very surprised but happy all the same, and said yes. When we went back home, my husband was a little tipsy. He told me he wasn't tired, and that he's going to take one more beer and watch TV, and that I should go to bed. I went back to the living area, and he was sitting there crying. I asked him what's going on, and he told me that he was in love with my sister, has been for years, but that he knew how wrong this was. He told me that he loved me very much, and promised to be a good husband and father to our daughter. He slept on the couch. He's still sleeping now. I'm shocked and full of anxiety. I don't know what to do or how to feel about this. My sister, should I tell her? Nothing can be the same again, but she's my only family and my best friend. And my husband, is this over? I have been so blind, now I see everything. Of course he's in love with her. How could I be shocked now? Can I save this marriage? And my baby, I promised her a better life than the one I had. I promised her kind and loving parents. I can't let her come to this world with estranged parents and new people in their lives. What can I do? Now for the top advice before reading the update. 1. You and your sister's relationship is not impacted by this. She's living her life. You're good. 2. If you really want to save your marriage, you and your husband must go to a marriage counselor. Point blank. You need to work if this is going to last after his pronouncement. 3. If the counselor cannot save things, children know when a relationship is unhealthy, and they will be happier and better in a single-parent home when the parent is happy than in one where there is fighting or drama. I am so sorry you are going through this, but you can break that family pattern of mistreatment, even if you have to do it as a single parent. Just keep reminding yourself that baby's needs come first, and that sometimes that means that you need to prioritize you so that you can be there for baby. I'm going to have to respectfully disagree with your third point. Counselors don't save things. They help you realize and work through issues, problems, and situations. It is up to OP and her husband to work through it, and the counselor will help keep them on track. Furthermore, children know a marriage is unhealthy only if the parents display unhealthy behaviors. Not every bad marriage has these clues for kids to pick up on. How many "I was caught blindsided because my dad just came out of the closet and is divorcing my mom" stories do we see on here? You did correctly hit on it during point number 2. The OP and husband must continue to work on this, probably forever. My sister was my protector and role model, since no one of the adults were. She tried to shift my stepdad's mistreatment on her when he got drunk so he wouldn't hurt me. When she left for college, she let me stay in her bed while she slept on the floor in her student room, the days I managed to run away from home. When I turned 16, she let me move in with her permanently. We never saw our parents again. None of this is your sister's fault, not one bit of it. Read back what you wrote. Remember how she fought for you, how she protected you, how she loved you. This is all on your husband. He's the one at fault. He's the one who's been nurturing an unrequited crush for years, instead of either leaving you or dealing with it. He married you and planned a child with you, all while supposedly in love with someone else. This situation is entirely of his making. Your sister shifted your stepdad's harmful behavior from you to her, and your husband couldn't even keep his mouth shut about his feelings. Don't cut off your sister. Don't isolate yourself for a man who would hurt you like this. His confession was selfish. He is not the victim in all of this. I know, I was being so stupid and silly. She hasn't done anything wrong but being kind to me and my husband. I don't know how I could have missed this, and why did he marry me? In hindsight, maybe he never left me just to stay close. How pathetic am I? You're not pathetic. This is not your fault. You trusted the man you love. It's what you're supposed to do. He deceived you. He's in the wrong here. He allowed you to make huge life decisions knowing how he felt. And honestly, I know you believe he's in love with her, but I very much doubt it's love. He's built this up in his head, and the illicit nature no doubt adds to the potency of his feelings. Now for the first update. He is awake now and I have spoken to him. He apologized for hurting me last night. He said that he just felt despair, like he had something very beloved and important in his life that he lost, and he was mourning it. He told me he loved me very much, and he wanted for this to work for us and the baby. I asked him if he loved her more than me, and he said it's just a different type of love. I asked him if he could choose between me or her. He said he'd choose me. I asked him if he thought she was more beautiful, and he said that I'm conventionally more attractive. I asked him if he stayed with me all these years just to be near her. He said I was being unfair to him because he did love me. I asked him if he is okay never seeing her again. He teared up, but then said he would do anything to save this marriage. He then added that he never really had a mother or a female figure in his life. That's probably why he's attached to her, because she is very warm and loving. I asked him, do you love her as a mother figure or do you want to sleep with her? He didn't want to answer. I asked him if he fantasized about her while sleeping with me. He refused to answer at first, and then said, why are you doing this to yourself? I asked him, will he lose interest in me if she's out of our lives and it's just us? He looked like he was thinking about this for the first time, and then he said that he chose me and my baby. He wants to start therapy and counseling because he thinks this marriage is salvageable. Update 2. We had a dinner with my sister and her fiancé. My husband was unusually silent and didn't initiate any talk with my sister, and he barely looked at her. It was a nice dinner. My sister is too happy to notice anything with her engagement and trip tomorrow. Before she went, however, my husband hugged her, longer than usual. He told her he was happy for her and wished her a great trip, all while hugging her. Then he held her hand and told her he didn't congratulate her properly yesterday because he was drunk, and he congratulated her again. He was tearing up again. Then he hugged my sister's fiancé and congratulated him. He was silent on our way home. He told me he loved me when we got back, and that he will do anything to make this work, but that I shouldn't take any decisions while hurt. We are starting couples therapy. I want him to be 100% honest, but he asked me not to tell anyone about his confession because it meant nothing. I told him that I didn't want him around my sister anymore if I would give him a chance. He asked me how this would work when we're always together. She will suspect something, and he doesn't want me to tell her because he's embarrassed. I told him he could just minimize his interactions with her. I told him to sleep on the couch again tonight because I haven't made up my mind about my next move yet, and that until then, it's the couch for him. Good night and thanks for everything, including teaching me how to make bold text. What an exhausting day. Update 3. I'm thankful for everyone who's reaching out asking for any new updates. I just don't think I have information enough to make a new post, but I have gone through all the comments, and thank you. I asked my husband for separation because I need to be on my own to make my decision. We are also starting marriage counseling, whether we stay together or not. I want to know everything that he has been withholding from me. He thinks I'm torturing myself, but he's wrong. I'm tortured with the half-truths, and with marriage counseling, I'm hoping I could get to the bottom of his feelings in a safe environment. He cried when I told him that I wanted to separate. He told me he has lost everything in one day, just because of a drunk confession that meant nothing. He loves me and he wants to be with me. He then suggested that we move away. He has had job offers in other cities on several occasions, and he said this could be our new start. We were renovating the basement this summer to make it a guest room, because our current guest room is being turned into a baby room. He will live in the basement. It has separate entrances, and the mini kitchen is almost finished. I have decided not to tell my sister about any of this. This is my battle in my marriage. I love my sister so much, but I'll be very honest here. I resent her. I'm jealous of her, and I think I have always been jealous of her. She's a way better person than I am. I hate that I never had the chance to return the favor, as she always been perfect and never needed help. I resent that she isn't as angry as I am about the injustice we had to endure. I hate that she's so good to me and my husband. I hate that he sees how much better of a person she is, and I hate that I don't blame for loving her instead of me. Update 4. Hi, I was here about a month ago with my woes about my husband, breaking down and confessing that he was in love with my sister and has been for years. The short version is that we're getting a divorce, and that he doesn't want to have anything to do with our daughter. After my sister's engagement and his confession, he made me a promise that he will love me and that he's going to do all in his power to be a good and loving husband and father. He didn't want me to tell my sister anything because he was embarrassed, and we slowly started to plan a future together in another city. He was already getting a better job offer in the other city, and now he thought it was time to move on. I agreed. We started marriage counseling. I told my sister that we were moving, and she was very distraught, but she as always didn't object and supported me. I don't know if she felt it was weird that my husband wasn't hanging with us anymore, but she never asked. She was probably just busy with her own happiness and the changes in her life. After her vacation, she came home and told me everything. She was pregnant and she was glowing, and that was the reason for this sudden engagement. Her fiancé wants to get married before the baby was born. She asked me to keep it a secret. She probably didn't mean even from my husband, but I kept it a secret anyway, because she was waiting for the second trimester to make the announcement. She finally broke down crying, however, about me moving away when she needed me the most, but then later apologized for being selfish. She understood that we needed to provide the best life for my daughter, including finding better jobs elsewhere. I cried for a whole week. Then a week ago, my husband was in a job interview in the other city, and he was going to stay there for the week to sign a lease to a new apartment. We thought we could try out the new life before selling our house to buy a new one there. Then my sister and her boyfriend made the announcement that they were expecting last Tuesday, the day after my husband's interview. Not 30 minutes later, my husband called me. He was drunk and he was crying, and asking if it was true and if I knew. He called me a cruel liar for not telling him. He said it was so unfair. My sister's fiancé was a loser, and he didn't deserve her. Her fiancé is a carpenter and my sister is a pediatrician, and he told me he needed to be alone for a while, so switched off his phone. Friday, he texted me that he didn't want to be with me anymore, and that he didn't want to be in my daughter's life. He was sorry but couldn't do it anymore. If I agreed to free him from his responsibilities as a father, he will leave me the house. I tried calling him, but he had switched off his phone again. I cried all night. Yesterday morning, my sister called me to ask what's up. My husband has asked her to meet up with him because he wanted to tell her something that he couldn't say over the phone, that he was coming on Monday to see her. She asked me what's going on, but I was too tired to tell her anything. She and her fiancé are coming over today, and I will probably need to tell her everything now. Now for some advice before reading the final update. You have to tell her your husband is out of his mind. Not sure what he expects to happen. I'm guessing he's throwing in a Hail Mary to get her to leave her fiancé, to ride off into the sunset with him. I don't see this working out the way he probably is hoping. Regardless, she deserves to know the truth. She's going to feel just as blindsided as you. Your sister seems like a good one, and I'm sure she will hate to see the pain he caused you. Tell her. She needs to know. I will tell her today. You need to tell her. Your husband is nuts, and this could end very badly. She should not meet him alone. Yes, this is how pregnant women end up being unalived. OP's ex should not be alone with her sister. This makes me so angry for you. I'm so sorry you're dealing with this while pregnant. By the way, he would owe you a lot more than the house. He owes child support and alimony. Don't let him have his way. Take the house and then file for alimony and child maintenance. Now for the final update. Hi again. I knew I could count on you for support. My sister was here and I told her everything. I got help from showing her parts of what I have written here, because honestly, I'm too tired to go into details about what I've been going through all these weeks. I told her that my husband was going to call asking to meet her, probably to tell her he loved her, or maybe something more sinister, so she needs to stay away from him. Her fiancé was on the edge of his seat with anger. My sister was just crying and apologizing, and trying to hug and stroke my hair. I hated her touch. I don't know why. I know nothing is her fault. I told my sister that now I had warned her, I want to be on my own for a while, and that I didn't want any contact with any of them. I have been thinking about moving to another city. There's a small town that one of my best high school friends live in after getting married. It's up north and everything is bigger and better, and cheaper. I can easily find a small rental until the divorce is final, and I can easily get a job there. If I can manage a place there, I can give birth up there with zero stress. I texted my husband that I've told my sister everything, and that both her and her fiancé aren't happy. He called me an hour later. He apologized and told me he didn't mean to freak her out. He just wanted to see her and say goodbye, but that he won't bother her if she feels scared. He's still the same man and wouldn't let anything happen to her. He didn't even ask about me or my baby. He's staying in the new place and he's starting his new job in September. He thought he would come back to say goodbye before moving to his new city permanently. My sister texted me later that she loved me and that she would stay out of my way if that's what I wanted, but to please not go through with my plans to move. I was wrong in thinking I'm a burden in her life, because she's always needed me as much I needed her, if not more. She would do anything to make it up to me. I didn't answer. I hate it when she's so perfect and kind. F off. I'm so sorry. Please take care of yourself and your daughter. Thank you very much. Also, please don't let your soon-to-be ex poison your relationship with your sister. She's kind and perfect, and that's the kind of love and support you deserve. Not sure why he's judging your sister's husband. He is the only loser in this situation. He has been obsessing about my sister's fiancé and his profession since he met him. I know you resent your sister right now, but please don't push her away. You both need each other in this trying times, especially as you are a single mother. You'll feel all sorts of negativity around her because of your piece of thrash ex-husband, but don't forget it's your ex who did this to you and your sister. Don't let him win even more by breaking you two apart. Strengthen your bond even more now that there's no barrier between you two as sisters, and soon-to-be mothers. Let him know how happy you are without his useless butt. There's no greater best friend than your sister who's been with you through ups and downs. Really wishing you the best, OP. The F off at the end was sad. She doesn't even know who she's angry at.